Chairman, very much. Thank you, Ms. Brink, for your long career, and I think you're much needed and are going to do a great job in Ukraine. Could I touch a little bit, if I could, about the ban on oil imports for the EU from Russia and the role that Hungary is playing? You're an expert on Slovakia, other countries. Could you talk a little bit in general about the consensus that exists right now, except for Hungary, and what, from your perspective, the incentives could be to have Hungary join into this? They've already been offered a 2-year extension in terms of their ability to comply with the oil ban. Do you have any insights in terms of what could be done in order to ensure that Hungary joins so that this new regime goes into place as quickly as possible?
Thank you very much, Senator, and thank you for our conversation earlier. As I'm not the accredited diplomat to Hungary, I don't have direct knowledge. What I understand with regard to the EU and all of the EU member states is that there is a strong willingness or an interest to move this issue very quickly. And what I've seen from my position in Slovakia, and I believe probably also applies to Hungary, is that if there are ways to provide substitution with regard to any of the energy sources for European countries, ways where the U.S. can be helpful, that is an extremely helpful situation for them to be in. So obviously they have a challenge of their publics and rising prices on the energy side, and so any ways where we can help, such as we are doing, which is increasing our LNG. And with regard to oil, I would assume it's a similar situation, and we are also helping on nuclear fuel as well in Ukraine and also in other places.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but just in general, I appreciate your expertise in this region in general. Prior to Russia's assault on Ukraine, at the top of the list of things that were holding Ukraine back was its endemic corruption. From top to bottom, Ukraine was 122nd out of 180 countries on Transparency International's rankings. In 2021, Russia was 136th. And so what do you think the United States can do in this situation where we're going to be the principal assistance that is provided to Ukraine for the duration of this conflict in terms of encouraging transparency, encouraging a change in the culture in their country?
Yeah, thank you, Senator, for this question. It is crucial for Ukraine to actually prevail in this situation. It's not only necessary for Ukraine to prevail in defending itself against the Russian attack, but also to prevail in creating the kind of Ukraine that Ukrainians have been fighting for years. After the Orange Revolution, after the Revolution of Dignity, and that is for a Ukraine that is free of corruption, that follows the rule of law, that allows for democratic rights. That is one that is something that will be the biggest challenge, I think, next step challenge for the Ukrainian government. And I think what I really am grateful for, the congressional support and the appropriations to help us support Ukraine. I think we must be mindful of that being such a challenge, and we must offer assistance in ways that's going to help the Ukrainians meet that challenge.
Yeah, my fear is that Ukraine's going to win the war and lose the peace.
Exactly.
Their principal obstacle to accession to the EU has been their corruption, top to bottom, in their government, in their society. So we want them to be admitted to the EU. We want them to be able to meet the transparency standards, which the rest of the EU, in fact, does comply with. So I just think it's imperative for us to figure out how to square that circle, that there's two discussions going on at the same time, because as soon as this war is concluded, we want them to be able to join the EU. But we won't if they then revert to the very same pattern of behavior which they've had throughout modern times, including, by the way, their total addiction to natural gas from Russia, which had them be one of the bottom 5 in terms of energy efficiency. They just got addicted to this old way, this I'll ultimately say, this corrupt way of operating. So again, we're glad to have you there, and I think that message, that is, we're going to assist them during the war, but they have to be prepared for the peace as well, and their culture, their political system has to change, and so we're just so glad to have you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Kane.